When will I make my first crore? I am a big believer of people who are very close to you, you should not do business with them.
What are your thoughts on AI? Do you think is it a threat to the finance industry?
According to me, AI is the next revolution that is happening. These kind of jobs will go away.
There is a conflict of interest, which is the biggest problem. Can you explain more on that?
People think higher the chance I take to lose money, higher I will make money. That's a stupid philosophy.
Hello everyone, my name is Poojan Ajani and welcome to Strique Talks. Today we have a very special guest with us. He is the co-founder of Sicomoro Advisories. He is a veteran private banker and a chartered accountant. He has experience of over 3 decades managing funds of around 6,500 crores. Please welcome Mr. Amit Khandelwal. Thank you so much, Amit bhai, for coming to this podcast and taking your time out of your busy schedule. How are you?
I'm fine, Poojan. It's always a pleasure and it's a delight to be a part of this journey of yours.
Thank you so much. So let's start this podcast. We have a few questions. The first question is, please tell us about yourself and how you started Sicomoro. What was your journey like?
So I'm a chartered accountant, as you said, and I was fortunate to be a rank holder. So I got picked up. I come from a very small town called Giridih, which is now in Jharkhand. At that point of time, it was in Bihar. I got picked up by IDBI and IDBI brought me to Mumbai. So my journey started in 1995, almost 30 years back with IDBI. Finance sector was opening up and then I went to ICICI Securities. In those days, it was a joint venture between JP Morgan and ICICI, followed by DSP Merrill Lynch, which was a long stint where I met my guru, who is a co-founder in Sicomoro Advisors, Mr. Pradeep Dokania. And most of the learning is through him. And my mentor, Mr. Nilesh Kanjwala. These are the 3 co-founder of Sicomoro Advisors. Journey continued with Merrill Lynch, Credit Suisse, briefly with Kotak. Before 7 years back, Mr. Dokania, Mr. Kanjwala and myself, we sat together and we said that this industry deserves something unique. And this industry, let's do something for this industry which solves a major problem that the industry was facing, which was conflict of interest.
So can you tell me more, like you said, there is a conflict of interest, which is the biggest problem. Can you explain more on that?
So the industry at the time when we started was predominantly done in the structure of distributorship. Now let me explain. If you are my client, for example, you see the profession of doctors, lawyers. There is no conflict of interest. You go to the doctors, your doctors give you advice and you pay the doctor. But that's not the way the wealth management industry was. In wealth management industry, I was giving you advice, but somebody else was paying me. So that leads to conflict of interest. The second conflict of interest, again, I can use an example of a doctor to explain. If a doctor starts manufacturing his own medicine, then there's a conflict of interest, because when you go to the doctor, you expect an objective diagnosis and you expect the best medicines to be given to you. But if the doctor starts manufacturing their own medicine, then you can expect some amount of biasness. Now, we took a stand that let's not have any conflict of interest, so that you have a business which is driven by trust. And there is, the word that we use is ruthless level of integrity, followed by transparency.
So these are the core fundamentals of the Sicomoro.
Correct.
The foundations on which.
So you need to have a value system on which you need to align. You need to have a thought process of how are you carving out the space. We want it to be unique. We want it to be boutique. And there is a segment, and this is a segment that we have created by ourselves. There's no formal definition of it. But the market is divided into 4 segments according to us, which is as per the investable surplus. So for the sake of your benefit of your audience, investable surplus is the money that is available for investment in addition to your business or your house. So that amount up to 1 crore, we call it retail. 1 crore to 10 crore, we call it affluent. 10 crore to 200 crores, we call it HNI, and 200 crores and above, ultra HNI.
Ultra HNI.
So we decided to offer our services to HNI and ultra HNI because that's where we had predominantly been during my journey in the employment, and that's how we started.
Amazing. That's really good to know. So Amit bhai, you have been in this industry for 3 decades. You have been in and out of finance. You know each and everything that has occurred in the last 30 years, right? You see people making mistake. Like, what is that one thing that you see people make? Like, okay, this is something that should not be done. This is something which is common sense, and this is something that you should totally avoid. Can you tell the audience?
Look, one of the mistake that I do people is that they don't put a purpose behind investment. Right? Because when you put a purpose and when you identify a purpose, then you know how to do that journey. So for example, you have people who mix up trading, investments, they don't understand long-term investment. And let me again try and explain you by way of a cricket analogy. So the same cricket, the format of the game remains the same. There's bowling, fielding, batting, that happens. But there are 3 distinct formats. So one is T20, one is one-day international, and another is test match. Now the way to approach the game is very different. In T20, you have to score very fast, and you have to score on each delivery. On one-day international, you can be little slower, but you have to score in each over. In a test match, and test match is really a long-term investment, which is where we belong. So test match is where you have to take it segment by segment, right? And that is where you have to be very, very careful. You have to have a very planned approach. And when you have that, then you can reach the desired result. Now, what I see people commit a mistake is they don't categorize themselves. And then they do hearsay, they are either wanting to do too fast, they become reckless, and then they blame everybody else other than themselves. So that is one common mistake that I do.
So you are saying that the mindset needs to be set in the first place.
Mindset has to be very clear. What is the purpose that you are trying to do? Okay. And the second very important thing is that investment has to be delivered by asset allocation.
What do you mean by asset allocation?
So asset allocation is, there are 3 needs. Anybody has 3 needs, irrespective of the wealth that you have. So when you make an investment, either you need the money back for some purpose. For example, you may have a need for education, you may have a need for marriage. This is where you need the money back. So that purpose is called liquidity. So the purpose behind the investment that you do, in order to meet that requirement, has to be driven by liquidity. Then the second purpose that everybody has is to keep themselves secured. The other word for that is safety. So then the purpose behind that kind of an investment is driven by safety. And third is growth, where you are wanting to make higher return. Now it's very important to identify, and this is called a broader asset allocation. In fact, every asset class can be divided in these 3 categories, which is safety, liquidity, and growth. And if you do this categorization properly, then you will not go wrong in your choice of investment. You will not go wrong in the expectation from that investment, and your decision will be then bearing the results or giving the results that you are aiming.
That is really insightful. So let's say that we take an example of one average guy who's in a tier 1 city making 40-50k or even up to 80k a month, and what should be, he's in his mid-20s or something like 24, 25, something like that, and he has zero knowledge about finance. How should he start? Like, what is the mindset that he should have? What are the things that he should plan? Like, he should plan for marriage, he should plan for his parents' retirements, he should have planned for XYZ things. How much money should he allocate? Is there any specific percentage that should be there? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So let me explain you with a analogy of health. Right. First thing is you have to begin by saving. Then you told me there are various goals, but you also said that the person doesn't understand. So first is there is no alternative to acquiring the basic knowledge. And knowledge you need to understand, make an effort to understand. And one of the very basic important thing to do is begin the journey. And the important concept of that is start saving. Start saving and start investing.
Saving in my bank account? Or?
So saving is if you have earned 100, you need to spend some amount and you need to save some more. You can't spend everything.
What should be the percentage that I should save?
There is no defined percentage, but definitely each one should define an amount that he or she wants to build up. And frugality is a virtue that everybody says. So you should live a good life, but at the same time, you should not go overboard. So the culture of saving is what will facilitate the investment. So you need to first start saving. Once you start saving, then as I was saying, you need to put a purpose. So now you have set the goals. The goals are with different timelines, right? So generally, whatever money you need within the next 3 years is something that you will put it in a very safe place. For example, you said savings account. You will put it such that you can get it back, and you will get it back without any destruction of value. Okay. So there is no up and down. The word that is get used in the market terminology is called volatility, where the prices comes up and goes up and down. So two things becomes important. The asset has to be less volatile, and second, I should get the money when I want it. It should not be illiquid. So these are the basic understanding that one has to create, and then start investing. The second important aspect is to understand the power of compounding. The longer you stay, the larger your growth will come. So to give you an example, and let me give you my own example. When I was young, like you, or maybe younger than you, I started what is very famously, in fact, mutual fund industry is regularly doing this, you see this coming, mutual fund sahi hai. And another thing that you hear is systematic investment plan, SIP. It is nothing but one, you are doing an disciplined investment in a regular period, let's say every week or every month, and you are keeping it very long so that it benefits from the power of compounding. And to explain the power of compounding, let's assume that if I have 1 lakh of rupees and 1 lakh compounds by 12%, which means it will double in 6 years. So in 6 years, my 1 lakh will become 2 lakh. In 12 years, my 2 lakh will become 4 lakhs, right? In 18 years, my 4 lakh will become 8 lakh. Now, imagine if you are saving 1 lakh every month, then at the end of the year, you would have saved 8 lakhs. And 8 lakhs, if it compounds by 12%, will double every 6 years. So after 6 years, you are making 16 years, but you are continuing to save 1 lakh. So on a rolling 6 year, after 6 year, each and every money of yours is doubling. And that doubling is then doubling again. And very soon, the aspiration of the people that usually have for everybody who starts, when will I make my first crore? Yes, people will have that. So two things is important: regularly saving and allowing your savings to grow and compound. And larger the number is, for example, if you compound at 12, you will double in 6 years. And if you compound in 18% per annum, you will double in 4 years. So that is how you make your money grow. So, and that is what is called make your money work. So save and make your money work. And then divide it at any point of time. Make sure that it is there in the asset class, which is to meet the purpose. So money that I need back in the next 3 years should be driven by liquidity. Money that is meant for giving me peace of mind and safety should be in places like fixed deposit, gold. And rest of the money, because it can stay very long and I don't see immediate need of it, I can invest in places like stock market and compound my money.
Okay, that is very insightful. So the the liquid index, in not the index but the liquid section of the asset allocation, where you mentioned that it's the money that stays in the savings account and it should be available readily. So let's say that if I want money today, I should get it today. So what I have seen is that there is a stigma among the people who think that never put money in your bank. Even from people like, there are many people online who say that bank mein paisa mat rakho, never put money in your bank, put it in at least mutual funds. You have the at least opportunity to take it out within 24 hours and use that money. At least that will get compounded by 12% or something like that. So do you think we should have some money in savings account and put rest in mutual funds or SGB or anything like that?
Look, again, you have to, savings bank, fixed deposit, mutual funds are different medium for investments. And each medium serves a purpose. For example, when I put money in savings bank, I can withdraw it anywhere using my ATM. So the liquidity is very high. I can be in any part of the world and withdraw the money. So money that I need anytime should be there in savings, or it gets linked to your UPI and you are able to use that. So the amount, the purpose of which is to be available at any point of time, I will keep it in savings. But the money that I know I can plan and take it out when I want to will be in places like FD, mutual funds. Now, all these are different instruments. But once you start understanding these instruments, you will realize that the characteristics is very similar. And there is certain characteristics of the way you get the returns. So once you start understanding that, then you will do what is known as allocating your investments and putting it in various places. But I don't want to get into whether FD is better or mutual fund is better. It's nothing like that. These are different vehicles to invest. Each one has to decide which vehicle is useful for them. And each vehicle has to be evaluated on the parameters of, these are the three words. I'm saying this again and again because these are a very important three words: safety, liquidity, return. So you analyze each of these vehicles, each of the investment on these three parameters:
safety, liquidity, and growth.
And growth.
Yeah.
Return, growth. Return is nothing but growth.
Okay. Yeah.
So they can be used interchangeably. So therefore, each investment has that character and your need has a character. So the monies, let's say I need after 7 days, right? So what is the need purpose behind this money? It should be very liquid because I know I need it after seven days. It should be safe and I should make some return. Obviously, I can't expect very high return because I don't have time. Now that money can be in liquid fund, for example, which is equal to savings bank. Now, if my liquid fund gives a higher return than savings bank, and say, yeah, I'll save, I'll keep money in liquid fund. That is how we'll evaluate. Similarly, let's say I need the money after 5 years. Then I will evaluate whether my fixed income mutual fund is better or an FD is better. And if I'm getting good return in fixed deposit, I will put it in fixed deposit. If a mutual fund is giving me a better return, then I will put it there. And if there is something that I don't have a visible time frame or a very long time frame, and I can go through the volatility and I want to make higher return, all of us wants to make higher return, that's where I look at stocks. Within, I can look at direct stocks if I understand how to pick the stocks. I can look at mutual funds. I can look at real estate. There are various avenues that are available. These days, people invest in Bitcoin also.
So what are thoughts on crypto? Like, do you consider it as a viable option for investment, or that's out of equation?
Look, as far as we at Sicomoro is concerned, we have taken a very calibrated call that we don't want to advise on anything that is unregulated. Because we are driven by safety. And anything that is not regulated has an element of, the safety element is not available because regulators make it safe. So therefore we don't advise. But there is this huge debate that's going on in the world as to whether crypto is an asset class and whether it is something that people should invest in. I personally have not come down to believe in crypto for one simple reason, because every asset has to have a methodology of valuation. I should know that this price is expensive or cheap Is it a right price? I still have not found anybody who can explain me how to value crypto. So unless I know how to value something, how would I know whether it's the right price I'm going to pay or not?
So I read somewhere that the value of anything is determined by someone who's willing to pay for it.
Absolutely.
So if let's say that crypto is trading at X amount, which is today, that price is not governed by any individual or an organization. That price is governed by the price people are trading it over.
So one is, yes, anything. Matlab today, I can say I want to buy this t-shirt for 1 lakh of rupees.
If I'm,
Right?
yes.
So you will say, is that the value? Is that the right?
Could be the value.
Right? So that's our bet. There is no standard. There is no measurement. You cannot invest in an asset class that cannot be measured. Because otherwise it's subject to a lot of subjectivity and risk. Now that is where I have a apprehension on crypto. I would definitely love to see how the methodology increases, just as there are books written and methodology written how to value my bonds, how to value shares. There is a methodology. Each one of us can say whether at this price it is expensive or it is cheap. We can all decide to pay different prices, but there is a method to find the price.
Okay.
Right? In crypto, I have not been able to figure out a method, and that's the reason I am little skeptical on crypto.
And one of the other ideologies behind other people's resistance towards crypto was that if it's a currency, I should be able to use it. What are the things that I can buy with this? Up until recently, you couldn't do much with anything apart from just trading it over the platforms. Up until recently, El Salvador as a country has legalized Bitcoin as a legal tender. So you can buy real estate, you can invest $1 million in El Salvador and get the citizenship over there. So does that put Bitcoin in the good spot? Like if you have money or if you have things and if you are planning to, let's say, move to Latin America or South America or something like that, then the Bitcoin makes a viable option.
There are certain characteristics of a currency. One is it should be universally acceptable.
Okay.
Today, Bitcoin
At least
crypto
recognized.
is not yet. So if you, for example, if you have $1 in your pocket, you can go to any place in the world and it will be accepted. There is no ambiguity regarding the value that you will get out of that dollar. And second, by the time you travel from one location to different location, the value of the dollar doesn't change. Imagine something that is of say value 100 and by the time in 10 hours if you reach somewhere it becomes 50. So imagine what kind of anxiety will it
stability.
So therefore crypto doesn't have any of these characteristics. So when I look at the yardstick on which I would like to classify it as an asset and a sustainable, look, today it is there, and if you go into the history you will find various examples where these kind of aberrations have happened. If crypto tomorrow becomes globally accepted, there is a methodology of valuation, it doesn't fluctuate as much, then maybe, but not today. At least today I'm not able to.
If let's say you could go back in time by around 10 years and you can get all the experience, all the knowledge, everything that you have learned in the last 10 years, and you could tell yourself, what are the things that you would do differently as an entrepreneur?
Look, as an entrepreneur, since you are asking about my entrepreneurial journey, when I look back 10 years or I go back 10 years, although I've started only 7 years back, but there are few things which I don't think I will do anything differently. But I can share with you what are the learnings that I have gone through. First, entrepreneurship is a mindset, right? You have to make up your mind because it comes with a lot of sacrifices. So for example, for me personally, it was to start the sacrifice of cash flow. Look, when you are a salaried employee, you know that on 31st of the month, a certain amount is going to sit in your bank account and you don't even think about it.
That's the drug that we have.
Yeah, that the moment you become an entrepreneur, that's the first adjustment and acceptance that you have to do. And it is tough, let me tell you.
It is tough.
It's very easy to say, but it is tough. Second thing, because I've had 2 stints of mini entrepreneurial foray that I did, which is failed before I did this, was that you have to start anything by backing yourself. It has to be your strength, your thought, your belief. You cannot start based on somebody else's strength, somebody else's thought, and somebody else's belief. There had been a couple of instances where I've taken such decision without getting into the details of it. But that's where I realized that you cannot. You need to be very sure that you can do the journey. Although there, for example, in our case, there are 3 co-founders, right? But when I thought of starting the journey, I first said that can I do it? And am I doing it based on my strength? That is very important. Then when you get people together, and that is something which is the most interesting learning that I have had in the last 7 years of my entrepreneurial journey. And the word is meeting of mind. Now, that is, according to me, the best learning that I've got. So meeting of mind means that there is an alignment of thought process. So if you remember in the
Think of the synergy, like you are in sync together.
You need to look, there is a path that you are walking. And everybody should be aligned of walking that path. Otherwise, imagine 3 people trying to run in 3 different directions. That organization will not go anywhere. So is there a meeting of mind or not? Is there an alignment of thought process? The second very important thing of entrepreneurship is value system. Now, for example, one word that connects all 3 of us, the 3 founders, is integrity. Right? This is one word that, because we are very clear, we don't want to compromise on the integrity. So you need to have these kind of alignment. It should not be the relationship of convenience. It should not be the relationship of just an opportunity. Of course, it starts with an opportunity. But such opportunistic, just because you are an opportunity, 2 people come together, we have seen various ventures fall apart because they start fighting or they want to pull them in different direction. It doesn't help because when you start
conflict,
lot of stories are there. So how do you ensure that these things don't happen, right? And I think these are the places where we went right, because we thought through this, we discussed it at length before we started this journey. The other very important thing that is important in an entrepreneur journey, and that's another learning that I've had and I've learned, this has been taught by my parents also, and all the people who has come across me, who has been taught me, and the word is very common, is humility. And the second word is gratitude.
definitely.
You need to have these 2 things. So one, you need to have the humility to accept that you alone cannot do everything.
That is one of the things that I could tell everyone, that there is no one-man army. The one-man army concept does not work.
It doesn't work. It works for some time, but if you have to create something that is sustainable for a very, very long period of time, if you have to leave behind something which is a legacy, then you don't see an example formed without, an alignment and without the collaboration. Yes, you said the right word, the collaborative attitude. And when you collaborate again with the meeting of mind, right? So whether it is your client, whether it is your partners, the external partners who come along with you, whether it's your employees who come along with you, this entire ecosystem has to be aligned in the thought process, the value system, and the journey that you are wanting to do. And at the end of it, you need to have the humility to accept that it is happening through the collective contribution of everybody. That's number 1. And number 2, a gratitude towards the ecosystem. Because I'm a very strong believer, and I'm sure you will also accept this, that a plane can travel at a very fast speed, but if there is a headwind, the speed will slow down. And if it's a storm, it can potentially crash also. So your ecosystem is also very important, and you need to have a gratitude towards your ecosystem. Otherwise, you can be a strong plane, a sturdy plane, a supersonic plane. But if your ecosystem is not aligned, and you should be thankful for that. So definitely, I guess the entrepreneurial journey, while I can't say something which I will do differently, I think I'm loving the journey that I'm doing. And I would love to do this and improve upon this, what I just said. But these are the learnings I would definitely love to share with everybody, which I've had as an entrepreneur so far.
Yeah. So coming back to the topic of the collaboration and the people and finding the right team, how do you go about finding the right people for you? Like, let's say what I have, seen people saying that you should never work with your partner, your physical partner or your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or anyone like that. You should never do that. You should absolutely avoid that. On the other hand, people say that you should never work with your friends, because then if anything goes wrong, your friendship takes a toss. So how do you find the right people to work with you?
So that's true. Even I believe in that. I think when the relationship is too close and sensitivity, where emotions can get impacted, you should not get into a partnership as far as business is concerned, because business requires some amount of objectivity, and you cannot only run it based on emotion. So therefore, I am a big believer of this particular thing, that people who are very close to you, you should not do business with them. The second thing is about finding right people, right?
In your organization.
So ultimately you have to, what I look at, and I classify it into two parts, because that's the demand of my business. One is the intelligent quotient. Of course, as an advisor, you are there to add value, right? So then the role that you have in your mind, you have to assess whether the person is capable of adding value to that role. So that is one assessment. It's not an easy assessment. You are an entrepreneur yourself, and there is no recipe for it, but you have to, which is the IQ part of it. And the second is the emotional quotient. I explained there is a mindset, there is a value system. We believe in integrity. When you do something with integrity, then the reward is back-ended. For example, our industry suffers from this problem of lot of expectation of front-ended reward. People expect reward before doing anything.
Yeah.
When you start doing your journey without conflict of interest, then it gets aligned. And when things starts getting aligned, then your reward is the journey. And it becomes back-ended, because you will have to grow the business, you have to grow the clients, and as the growth happens, everybody will grow.
Everyone is happy. Yeah.
You cannot grow in spite of the growth of your ecosystem. So the entire ecosystem has to grow together. That is called alignment of interest. And to give you an example of this conflict of interest that I spoke about, this is a good example. Alignment of interest means that everybody will be growing together. And it cannot happen. So if you and me have a different alignment where you are benefiting, I'm not benefiting, there's a conflict, right? So there has to be an alignment of interest. And I think that's another thing that you look for in the person whom you are looking at, whether they belong to the value system and they are motivated by doing that. So these are some of the traits on which you try to evaluate, besides the qualification and various other things that each one of us look for. But I can tell you it's not an easy journey, because
This is not.
Today social media does a lot of training and people have an ability to speak the right language, because they can learn. Now there is a chat GPT which can tell you what kind of questions may be asked and what kind of answer. So it's a tough thing, but okay, you can go wrong for some time. But if you can keep at it, you will very soon create an ecosystem. And I think when I look at After 7 years, I feel blessed. I have said this to my team and I have said this to a lot of people. I feel blessed that I'm surrounded by some wonderful people. And that's the ecosystem.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I totally agree with you. I agree with you 101%, not 100%. I agree with you 101%. Coming back to the topic, you said Chat GPT. What are your thoughts on AI? AI in general and AI in finance. Do you think is it a threat to the finance industry? Do you think that it would make people less researchable or more dependent on things like AI or no?
Look, first, I don't think it's a threat, right? And I know I'm making an absolute statement because everything that I'm seeing, and I've been fortunate very early in my life and my career, I had been associated with this project of ICICIdirect.com, which allowed me to see the enablement of technology. And thankfully, when I was starting in 1995, that's what was happening, that the technology was coming into the play as far as the industry is concerned.
Yeah.
And people were trying to figure out, and a similar kind of conversation was happening, a very similar conversation, a very similar noise. That is technology going to create a problem? Are people going to lose job? Is it a threat? You know, the word that was getting used, which you just said, is it a threat? According to me, no. Technology has been and will continue to be an enabler. And human mind is intelligent enough to understand how to leverage this enablement. So we have seen technology allowing all of us. You look at your own company. You know, it's a classic example of the enablement of technology at a level where it stands today, which was unthinkable when I started my career.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was even thinking about such kind of stuff. And today, these are a very, very strong value proposition that has created a business that has got created. So technology as an enabler is expanding the market, expanding the way things can be done, changing the way things can be done. And according to me, AI is the next revolution that is happening. Honestly, I feel a very same way I used to feel during my journey of 95 to 2000. And I see a very strong glimpse of a similar kind of debate happening in a different context with AI as it was being spoken about technology. In fact, if you read, you will know that people had protested, people had gone on strike against computer coming in.
Yeah,
because
it
they
might
had
replace the other jobs.
The people started thinking that it is a competition to us. Very soon people started realizing that it's actually an enabler and it's enhancing what is known as productivity. Right? And productivity is actually an accelerator. Now AI, according to me, is the next level of accelerator and it's going to percolate everywhere. Just like technology has percolated everywhere, I think AI is also going to percolate everywhere. And it's going to be amazing. In fact, I'm very thrilled. In fact, we as an organization is working on AI enablement. We are working on a project in collaboration with a company in UK. And that's giving me a perspective. And honestly, I feel as excited and as thrilled as I was feeling then when I was working on a project of ICICIdirect.com. And because of that experience, at that point of time, I didn't know, honestly, that what kind of enablement technology will do. And I didn't have that vision, but have seen. Today, you have an example of organization like Zerodha, right, which has completely changed the way the broking business is done today. And that's where I think AI is going to create the next level of revolution. I have no doubt about it.
So if you have to, let's say, name 5 tasks that you do every day or your team does every day at Sicomoro, and you are definitely confident that these are the tasks that will get definitely replaced by the AI or some of the jobs that are currently there, and do you think these jobs are in threat? So people who are into that segment need to rethink their skills.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because, for example, take accounting as an example, right? Before technology came in, before software, Excel, and now things like Tally and various other software has come in, there used to be a category of people called Munim. Munim. Right? Every business and every household used to have Munim, who used to keep books of records, and it used to be done manually.
Oh.
So imagine the number of people who were doing that job. But that skill became redundant the moment technology started coming, right? So a similar kind of stuff is going to happen in AI. And to answer your question, what are the so AI, as I understand, is the technology which is becoming intelligent. Earlier, what used to happen was the humans were bringing in a technology, and then there were different version, which was the enhancement. Now, what I read the word called machine learning. That means machine is able to, or the software is able to learn on its own and evolve. So, a lot of things which used to be done, which were very clerical or non-value added stuff, those are the guys who will have trouble.
The ones which
doesn't require
much of the brain power.
So, for example, just the assimilation of data, formatting of data, or for example, putting things in PowerPoint,
making content.
Yeah.
Six.
And not only there, for example, what I'm seeing is so there are two types of work that happens in investment analysis. One is called data crunching, and second is called data analysis and decision making.
Okay.
Right? There are two steps. The data crunching is nothing but assimilating all the data and putting it in a particular format that it can be analyzed to take a decision. Right? Our decision makers have the team of people who does what is known as data crunch. That job is under threat. Because now AI will be able to do that faster, more accurately, and with a wider range of data, because it's a machine. Right? Now, will it also graduate to the level of decision making? I think time will tell. Yeah, it looks like it will. And it will start taking decision as well. Then the decision makers will have to go to the next level. And I think that evolution will happen.
Yeah.
So to give you that example, yes, that is one example, I think, where there is no value addition. These kind of jobs will go away. I don't think anyway technology has reduced the, so there used to be a category called secretary. Nowadays, I don't see those categories, right? The entrepreneurs are not really having secretaries because there is enough assistant available.
Personal assistants available.
So similarly, a lot of these assistants which were available to businesses are now going to be taken away by artificial intelligence, which means humans will have to evolve themselves in order to how to use this AI and deliver it better. And according to me, that will happen. And that will expand the market. So I don't see it as a threat. I see it as an enabler. But all the people who have to adapt
will have to adapt.
Will have to adapt and change. There's a very famous saying that change is the only constant. So people who will be left behind are the people who will not acknowledge and accept that change. Aisa hi hota hai is not going to work.
I have been there. I know exactly what you're telling. Yeah. While your journey at Sicomoro in the last 7 years, you have worked with HNIs and ultra HNIs. These are the people who are rich. They have the money. What are the things that they do differently that a normal person doesn't in terms of their finance? That you see, okay, this is a smart choice that they are making. Normal people might say that they are getting a G-Wagon and say ki kitna paisa uda raha hai. And you are saying, okay, this is a tax depreciation asset which will get 50% deduction in the next year. And this is a smart decision that they make. So what are the things that you see?
Look, honestly, Poojan, zeros in terms of the basic construct doesn't make any difference. Okay, right? Because the philosophy of doing things don't change based on zeros. And believe me, I've had the benefit in the last 30 years to witness people with various zeros or families with various zeros. The need, and again, I'm sorry I'm using this again and again, but honestly, that is the crux of investment, that the need of, irrespective of the zero, you may have whatever zero, but you will have these needs: liquidity, safety, growth.
That is the fundamental.
The discipline required is the same. Look, the only thing that will change is the amount allocation. If I have 10 lakh of rupees, I will allocate based on 10 lakh. Somebody has 1 crore, will allocate based on 1 crore. Another has 100 crore, will allocate based on 100 crores. Yes, some avenues become available more with the amount being higher. That's the only difference. But that's like 20%. 80% is same. So therefore, I would generalize it as an investment philosophy rather than saying that, the zeros will define the philosophy. Of course, the kind of risk that one can take changes. Some things by nature requires higher quantum of allocation. Right, so those things changes. So for example, these days unlisted have become a very important category. Now obviously, when people are raising money, they may have minimum amount that they need, right? And that's the risk that you may not be able to take initially, but very soon you can start taking it. So therefore, these kind of stuff may be different, but as far as the philosophy is concerned, purpose is concerned, I haven't seen any difference. Ultimately, I'm able to categorize everything into these 3 words, which is liquidity, safety, and growth. And that determines the asset allocation that everybody speaks about.
Okay. I remember we had a conversation, I think around 2 months back, where we were discussing about the risk appetite of a person. And my definition of risk appetite was different, and then you said, okay, more the risk appetite does not mean you invest in bad stocks or bad investments. So can you explain to people, like people have a general perception that if you are young, if you are making money right now, you have a higher risk appetite as compared to someone who is in their late 40s or 50s or something like that. What is the exact idea behind that? Like, what do you mean exactly?
So first of all, in fact, I should have said this even when you asked me the question, what are the mistakes people do? And thank you for asking this question.
Yeah.
Because my own feeling is that people don't understand risk. Look, you start by first asking a very basic question, what is risk? Right? People think that higher the chance I take to lose money, higher I will make money. I think that's a stupid philosophy. Right? Risk doesn't mean that I should lose money. Right? Which means that I am compromising on quality. You don't make money by compromising quality. That's a perfect recipe of disaster. You are talking about, I am going to destroy my wealth. Aag lagana. It's like machis lagana. Right? It doesn't work like that. So, first of all, let's understand that risk is not about compromising the quality. Risk is not about saying, चलो ना देखते हैं, थोड़ा सा खो गया तो खो गया, क्यों?
That doesn't happen.
No. Why should I lose? Why should I start with the proposition of losing? Risk is at least from the philosophy with which we work, my understanding of risk is my ability to withstand what the word that I said earlier also, volatility. Look, there are certain investments which fluctuates in prices, right? Now, why it becomes a risk? And I give you a very simple example, right? Let's say I have 100 rupees and I need it after a year, correct? Let's assume that this period, and let me give you an example because your audience and you will also relate to it. Let's assume we are talking December of 2019. right? I need this money after 6 months, right? And what I do, I am greedy, right? I am adventurous, and I have an illusion that stock market mein paisa to banta hai. So therefore, I go and put money in the stock market, right? To make little more. Ek saal mein, why make 4-5%? Let me try and make 15-20% or 30%, right? That's a mindset that I've seen. Now we all know stock price fluctuates, and we all saw COVID, and we all saw the fall of the market post-COVID. Was it a controllable event? Did the price fall because quality was bad? No. Everything fell because of the event, which is the ecosystem of the market. That was the problem. I was giving an example of storm and plane. A plane can be sturdy, but if a storm happens, right? So that was a storm that hit the market. So irrespective of how good or how sturdy your company is, the price fell. That's the nature of the market. Now that is the risk. Now that risk I should not take, because when I take the risk of fluctuation, I should have the ability to withstand that storm. And that is where the word long-term gets used. Another very funny thing that I see is people giving different definition of long-term. Some say 1 year, some say 3 years, some say 5 years. How can you put a time frame to long-term? Long-term is my ability to go through the volatility when it comes.
Could be 5 years, could be 10 years.
Imagine an investor who had invested in 2010 and needed money after 10 years and COVID happened. Or somebody who invested in 1998 and a 2008 crisis happened. So after 10 years, your return became negative. So where is it written that 10 saal mein paisa banta hi banta hai?
Yeah.
So at any point of time, I have to keep asking, do I need my money back? If I need the money back, I can't keep it in equity. It's as simple as that. Is my need safety? If my need is safety, I cannot withstand the fluctuation. That is the risk that we are talking about. So two risks. One is the fluctuation risk, and second is I should get the money when I want it. Why do I do investment? I do investment so that I can get the money when I want it. If I am not able to get the money when I really need it, then what's the use of that investment? If you don't keep the need of the investment in mind, then you will be taking risk which you should not take, right? And that is where I think people commit mistake.
I have seen that happen, including myself. I've been that.
And this basic philosophy, if you get it right, and if you do this basic understanding, then you will not go wrong on your allocation. And the second thing, as I said earlier, is that which game are you playing? Are you playing a T20? Are you playing a trading game, a one-day international, or you are a long-term investor? Like people like us are a long-term investor. There we do this discipline. These kind of disciplines are required, and if I keep this discipline, then I will commit mistakes. Once in a while, mistakes will happen, but that mistakes will not be so significant that it takes away my power of compounding.
Okay. That is very, very insightful. That I wanted to end this podcast. I have one question for you. What are the 3 books that you would recommend any layman to get started into their personal finance? And what are the sources that they should follow? Could be YouTube, could be LinkedIn, could be Instagram, or any of those, trusted sources that you have, that you personally use.
There is a book which has been written by Peter Lynch, which is called One Up on Wall Street. That's a very good book for someone to read, to just get a basic understanding of the capital market in particular. Because today when people talk about investments, the most exciting place where people naturally think about is stock market, when there are so many avenues of investment. But One Up on Wall Street gives a good guide to the philosophy and the understanding of investment dynamics for someone who already has a basic understanding of the concepts of investments. I personally like this book, Intelligent Investor, which had been written by Benjamin Graham. So that's a very good book. And that is something that people can do. And the third thing is, because I'm an advisor, I definitely advocate people to read the book called The Trusted Advisor. Now, as we know that, just to add to what is the significance of people like us? Why are people like us required? Are we doing any kind of a rocket science? Are we doing anything that you cannot do yourself? No. I think if we...
Yes, I would be making mistakes.
No, but if you get down to spending as much time and resources as I am putting, then you will also be able to do. Today, your priority is something else.
Yeah.
Right? And therefore, you are not able to spend the time and the resources that is required. That is where you will say, okay, let me have a trusted advisor advising. It's like going to a doctor. Can you treat yourself? Of course you can treat yourself. But then why do you go to a doctor? Because you have not spent time and resources in gaining that expertise. So you go to a doctor, take the diagnosis, take the advice and get yourself treated. It's a very similar role, but you should know this being a more complicated and has a lot more dynamics. Therefore, if you want to understand what to expect from an advisor, then it's a good book to read.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amit Bhai. It has been a pleasure. I really, really thank you for taking your time and coming on this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone who has tuned in for this podcast. I really appreciate it. See you guys soon. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below. Bye. Take care.